This is just an update on a Mazzei injector I just put together this afternoon. I'm going to go over it since I told everyone I was going to go over my system and what I do and how I do it. And this is another system I made for a friend who put in their garden. So anyways, get down to the nitty gritty. What you hear is the Mazzei working, and actually I'm going to shut it off so I can explain to you what's going on. Basically, this is, right here, this is how I made it. This is 3/4 inch hose thread to 3/4 inch pipe thread. This is a 3/4 inch coupler threaded to slip. This is a piece of 3/4 inch pipe to a 3/4 inch T that necks down to 1/2 inch thread. From there we go to a 1/2 inch nipple, to a 1/2 inch ball valve, to another 1/2 inch nipple, to a 1/2 inch threaded 90 both sides, to another, in between there is this is actually a 2 inch nipple, 2 inch nipple. This is a 1/2 inch nipple in between this 90 and that pipe union, which is threaded 1/2 inch pipe union. This is the correct way of doing it. Not my old system is actually hard threaded in, and in order to take it apart I would actually have to cut the 90 and then replace it. But this is a lot easier. This spins apart. I'll show that a little later on, and you can remove the Mazzei and clean it, replace it, do whatever you have to do to it, put it back in. The system works. This is the Mazzei injector. That's just a 1/2 inch poly vinyl tubing going into a jug of water. Anyways, so to another union threaded, to another 1/2 inch nipple, to a threaded 90 1/2 inch, to a 2 inch threaded nipple, to another ball valve that's threaded, to another 2 inch threaded nipple 1/2 inch, and then to a 3/4 inch T again that necks down to 1/2 inch that's threaded. The 3/4 inch T's are slip-on T's. That's key. You need that to be slip by thread, by 1/2 inch thread. Okay. From there we have another section of 3/4 inch pipe slipped into an adapter that goes from 3/4 inch slip-on to 3/4 inch male thread to a brass valve, 3/4 inch brass gate valve. You could use a ball valve here, but I prefer to use a gate valve because you can control it better. Then again, back to the male adapter from male thread to slip-on 3/4 inch to another 3/4 inch piece of pipe to the T, and then another slip-on T to the adapter, which is on that end is a hose adapter. You could put whatever you needed to on either end, on this end or that end. You could make it all pipe thread, but for me it's hose thread to hook up to a garden hose for a garden system. And as you can see, it's just a slip-on. You sell these local hardware stores, get them. You can find them relatively. To make this system, your two main components that are going to cost you the most money is your Mazzei and your gate valve, because it's brass. It's going to be the two systems that cost you the most. And I got spiders running all over the place. It must be finally cooled off enough where they want to come out. Anyways, besides the point. So that's going to be your two main costs, is the Mazzei and the brass gate valve. Those two ball valves, they're $2 max, $2-3. Everything else is like 50, 60 cents, maybe $1. I think it's like $1 something for the adapters, because they're a little odd, not standard pipe plumbing. The unions will be your next expensive besides the ball valves, and the unions will be the next pricier item. The unions might be, $3 or $4 a piece depending on where you get them. So, vinyl tubing or polyurethane tubing is cheap. There's a hose clamp there because, it doesn't fit real tight on the barb. That's actually not the standard fitting for the Mazzei. That's a brass one. That Mazzei's nipple actually broke, and I replaced it with a 1/2 inch fitting. It had originally a 1/4 inch tubing barb, and I went from 1/4 inch. The only one I could find was 1/2 inch. So no big deal. It still will suck material out. It just will look like it's going slower through the hose than if it was 1/2 inch. Anyways, this Mazzei here is actually bigger than the one I have in my system. This is model number, I don't know what model it is, but I know it's bigger. My system that I have now, maximum in suction would be 4 gallons, and this one can do up to 17. So if the pressure is right, I tested it out, it does work. So, you know, depending on their system, whatever they hook up, how many lines, really it's whatever they hook up to, it's got to be flowing pretty well. Otherwise, it's not going to work. But I imagine with, you know, 8 or 10 drip lines, you know, your volume coming in, you can completely close that and just run it through there, and it'd probably work. So I'll turn it back on, and we'll see how it works. And I can turn it on easily by just flicking this ball valve. It's still charged. It's actually leaking from right here. It's just a gasket, and that's normal for it to leak from here. It's high pressure. You know, this hose is pressurized pretty good. So there's a lot of pressure right in here, and it's not leaking. It was leaking right here, and I had to re-pipe thread, and everything's pipe thread too. There's no pipe dope. It's all just pipe thread. Everything's just pipe threaded together with tape, pipe tape, or you know, nylon type or Teflon tape. Excuse me. Sorry. And actually, my system, the brass valve lays flat, and I actually kind of like this because you can actually lay it on the ground and then still get to the gate valve, you know, and turn it without having to prop it up or anything, which is nice, because anytime you move it, this will move and it'll squirt water out, and it's not cool. The only things I could say that you will want to add to your Mazzei system is on your suction line from your liquid fertilizer. You're going to want to put a filter. So somewhere in that poly line, line, you're going to want to put a filter, you know, or make darn sure your fertilizer is extremely clean. No grit, no dirt, because the moment any of that enters there, it's going to plug up, and you know, that defeats the whole purpose of the set it and forget it and walk away. So definitely want to put a spin clean or some sort of media filter on there, or you know, a screen filter to filter the fertilizer coming in. And again, you're going to want to put a filter on this end too, probably at your faucet, but you can actually put it here. You know, this is threaded, so if you wanted to, this is pipe thread, you could turn this out and you could put in, they sell them, they're a little Y filter they call them, and it's pipe thread to pipe thread and threaded in, and then get another coupler but threaded both ways, and then you could put this back together, and that would solve your problem, no problem. Actually, I personally would do it right here with that. And the Y filter is another, will be an expensive component. They're about 20 bucks a piece, but they're well worth the money, because you'll believe it or not, a lot of contaminants will come in from this side. It may not be the fertilizer you're putting in, but definitely from this side you'll get some grit, some calcium deposits will come in, and it'll clog up the Mazzei, excuse me, very easily. And we don't want problems, so the filter will take care of that. So anyways, I'm going to turn it on now, and as soon as I open this ball valve, you're going to hear it, and you see the water coming out, and this valve is completely closed, so all the water is coming from here, going down through the Mazzei, and back out that way. There's no water going through this top section 3/4 inch pipe. Okay, this is all 3/4 inch, that's all half. Okay, so a little demonstration of it working. This was full about maybe a couple of minutes ago, but let's see it. And see it going? It is. Boom. And you'll notice, see how the water is aerated? That's because there's air being sucked in. More. Boom. You see it. Boom. And all better. And that's sucking in fertilizer. And you can open this gate valve here, and all it'll do is it'll slow down the suction. By opening this, there's less of a difference in pressure differential, so it'll just lose, you'll lose suction, you know, but it doesn't mean you'll lose suction entirely. You can hear the Mazzei's not as loud, but you can still kind of hear it, and you come up over here and see it's still sucking, just not as fast, see? And it's actually still sucking at a pretty decent rate. So boom. So, and that's, you know, about as much water as will come out of a garden hose. So I'd say it's pretty much a success. And all the materials I used was basically just some pipe cutters, Teflon tape, and some primer and glue, and parts. And that's all you need to make it work, if you can find the Mazzei injector. If anyone has any questions, just get in contact with me. And if you want to build one of these for your garden, you know, maybe I can help you out. Anyways, talk to you guys later.